Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 2 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about hunching, and no, we're not talking about hunching over your computer chair while you play this game or your gaming chair, and we're not talking about hunching over your monitor while you watch this video. Rather, we're talking about looking straight down at the ground and running away to avoid your enemies. If you watched MLG Anaheim or any pro players, or if you've been gaming for long enough, you've probably had somebody tell you that staring straight down at the ground while you run away will do one of two things. It will either make you run faster so that you can escape faster, or it'll give you smaller hitboxes because as your character bends over, he bends his back down and kind of sulks and hunches and shrinks up the hitbox. It's an interesting tactic. It's one that I'm seeing more and more often as the pro scene becomes more and more prevalent, and it's something that I wanted to test. I was never a particularly strong believer in this, but after today's test, I did find some interesting information for you. And I would recommend sticking around to the end of the video. I have a Vengeance DLC code to give away. You got a fun little contest to do, so stick around to the end if you're interested in that. This first test was done on a subscriber on the new map Detour. I told him to look straight ahead at headshot level, and you can see that this 2D representation of his hitbox shows it's basically as tall as his body and about as wide as his shoulders. When he looks down at the ground, not only does the body shrink, but the hunched hitbox actually decreases in size. I'm going to show you a test in a minute to show you that yes, the hitbox actually does shrink, and yes, in this game it does match to the body pretty closely. As we all know, Black Ops is a little bit of a funny game, and the hitboxes aren't always where they're supposed to be, but that's him normally standing up straight. You can see I can pop him right in the back of the neck. However, when he bends down in a hunch position, the hitbox actually moves and I can no longer hit him. And I'm going to start slowly moving my gun down here to show you just how much the hitbox moves. I don't know what's going on with the geometry on the wall. I thought it was going to load more of my gunshots, but apparently it decided not to. And I actually have to aim fairly low on this one to shoot him. This was probably the most extreme result that I got. For some reason, some of the other results weren't quite as extreme. You could even see the red crosshair change, and this is from behind. When he's hunched, I hit nothing. When he stands back up, I'd be shooting him right square in the back of the head. So just comparing the sizes of the player model and the box heights that I made here in Sony Vegas, editing program, I would say that hunching gives you an approximately 15% smaller hitbox height, which since we're only scaling a one-dimensional object here, we're not going to get into three-dimensionality. I guess that'll just say a 15% smaller hitbox in general. It's not a huge change, but it is a change and it could save your life. Unfortunately, most of the players that do this tactic, they don't do it while they're standing still. They don't just duck to dodge bullets because nobody's really that fast and this game has hit scans. Anyway, what they're actually doing is running away, so I thought it would be more appropriate to test the hitbox height on people that are sprinting. And since we know that the hitbox more or less matches the player model, I can more or less assume that the sprinting hitbox is going to match the player model. So we're going to do that test, and then we're going to test it with me shooting to see if that actually works. This is somebody looking straight forward, and he runs forward, and you can see he ducks a little bit as he runs. Now he's looking straight at the ground, he runs forward again, and it doesn't look that different. I decided to put the two on top of each other, and if you look close enough, you can see that it's not that different. But I'll zoom in, crop, and put it in slow motion, and you can see that even though one is looking at the ground and one is looking straight forward, they actually have the exact same model when they're sprinting. A little bit of difference there was the filming difference. From behind, there doesn't seem to be too much of a difference in the hitboxes. That was him running down there normally. Now I'm going to tell him to look straight down at the ground and run down there. He's going to hunch, and you can see that the closer they are to you, the more difference it makes, but after they get just a little bit away, because of the three-dimensionality of the game and how your look mechanics work, that it doesn't seem to make that much of a difference. It does make a difference, don't get me wrong, but it's not a very big difference. In this case, I'm going to say that the main use of this, which is running away with your head hunched, is that it seems to have an almost negligible effect on the sprinting hitboxes. Not only does your player model not move or not change hardly any while you're sprinting, but the hitbox doesn't seem to make much difference except perhaps on the initial sprint. Initially, while you're standing, if you want to look down while you accelerate into sprint, your head will duck down and then it will pick back up, so you're only getting that reduction very momentarily. Lastly, the other common belief about this method is that looking at the ground is going to make you sprint faster. I have these guys stand side by side and I'm told them to sprint forward as soon as I shoot my AN-94, and let's see if I'm going to shoot that AN-94. Yep, shot, and they are sprinting. The guy on the left, who is the closest to me, is actually hunching and looking straight down at the ground. The guy beside him is not. You can see the player models are more or less the same size and they move at the same speed. This is just a closer confirmation. Interestingly, when I did this just goofing around, the guy closest to me decided to duck, and he lived, again proving that it makes a bigger difference when you're not sprinting. But I just want you to go back and maybe look at that clip one more time if you get bored. What you'll see is that there is a very slight difference in their player models, usually when they're not sprinting, but when they slow down to do more of a walking kind of situation. And I really would not have a hard time shooting either one of them in the back, so that's the main takeaway, that it doesn't make a difference on your run speed, and it doesn't make that much of a difference on your hitbox while you're sprinting. Now, while you're walking regularly, while you're standing regularly, in some of the transition phases, it does make a difference, but during the main point of this, while you're sprinting, not that big of a difference. And I would recommend only use this if you are truly desperate to escape, and I guess that's why you see some pros using it or swearing by it, is that in the situation they're in, every single little miniature thing does make a difference. I still don't think the grip makes a difference, but things that I would never use in pub stomping, like we'll say long barrel, I would absolutely use in pros, because everybody else is going to do that, and giving yourself a tiny edge over somebody else is a big edge over the rest of the competition. Same thing in league play, so do be careful with this. It works a smidge, but not a lot. Now, I have several other things to talk about at the end of this video. I have to talk about a Vengeance downloadable content contest that I'm giving away, and some handful of sponsor things. Now let's talk about the Vengeance DLC cowboy contest, I'm going to call it. I have codes so that you can download the Vengeance DLC. I'll just give you the code. You can download it. It's Xbox only right now because it's not out on PlayStation yet. I'll try to get PlayStation codes when it comes out. But to enter this contest, you need to post a video response to this video of yourself dressed as a cowboy doing the most cowboy thing you can possibly do. Now, to make a video response, you need to go down in the comment section, click in a comment box, and there's usually a link down there that'll say create video response. It's a very simple thing to do. You just dress like a cowboy, do something cowboy-like, but don't hurt yourself. I don't need you jumping over cars or trying to wrestle bulls, but I don't know, riding a horse or making a little quick draw skit in your house. Just have a little bit of fun with it. It's not a serious thing. I'll PM the winner's code at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, July 4th, 2013, which is about 30-ish hours after this video comes out. It has to be something new and something not recorded ages ago. If you send me a video from 2009, it doesn't count, and I'm going to pick the winner based on whatever I like. Also, I do like cowboy hats, so cowboy hats are a bonus. I'll go over it again. Just post a video response of yourself doing something cowboy themed. It can be a skit, it can be a little trick, it can be a joke, just anything. Don't worry about it. Don't stress yourself out. It's not that serious of a contest. Let's move on to the end roll here. If you'd like to check out the previous episode on sensor grenades, that is down there in the description. I have an updated Ask Drifter app down there in the description. It now works on all versions of iOS, and also hiding down there should be a link to the new Scuff hybrid controller, which just came out. If you're interested in that, I'll be doing a review later. As always, in the next episode, it's going to be whatever you want. I consider myself to be mostly done with in-depth, and I'm just doing topics that you recommend to me. And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.